All right, folks, welcome back to the Thrive Vodcast, and this is kind of a special edition episode. We're at the Utah Hunt Expo, looking at tens of thousands of people walk by, and we're inside the Peax Cybertruck.
Kind of a very unique experience right now.
Yeah, and you hear that voice we got on the side here. This is, I'm in here with a guy that I am honored to be here. I don't even know how I get to share the same space or the same air. And so we're in rarefied air here with Brady Miller from GoHunt. One of my all-time favorite dudes, one of my favorite humans on the planet. And so we're going to talk about a few things. And we got some things coming up. So we're really not going to get into too much of it today. We're just going to introduce it. And we're going to kind of tell you a little bit about what we got going on or what I got going on here. We're at the Peax booth, and we're giving away this Cybertruck. So every $50 you spend at the Peax store, you get an entry in this Cybertruck. Now, I mean, this truck isn't for everyone. We know it. But, man, this thing is a little cooler than I expected. I've never been in one before.
This is literally the first time I've ever sat.
Yeah, I mean,
today,
now. But I got instructions getting in here, right? Don't touch the screen.
Don't touch the screen and don't touch the pedals.
Don't touch the gas pedal.
Which I'm kind of nervous about because this is like you could just stretch your leg really quick and all of a sudden we're going to be going into that wall.
I know. I'm kind of paying attention here.
I know. Pay attention.
So this thing does 0 to 60 in 2.2 seconds. They claim. So we'd be into that. Yeah. We'd be into that pillar in no matter no time. Oh. So anyway, when it comes to Brady Miller, what I love about Brady, well, there's a lot of things I love about him. He's a stone cold killer. He's a complete badass. But other than that, there's nobody on the earth that I've met that geeks out on e-scouting as much or even more than I do. And so when we got together on this podcast, it was what was it, Brady?
I think it was called the greatest e-scouting podcast of all time. It's a really good title. First of all,
name. Yeah, nice clickbait.
It was a little bit of clickbait, but it's like when you get two of us together, like you said, I think we just mesh.
We forgot all about I kind of forgot about the camera being on. Yeah. I mean, I said some things I probably shouldn't have said about some of my secrets.
Yeah, I remember we gave out a little too many golden nuggets, but that's where I think we want to expand on.
So we did that podcast, and it's one of GoHunt's top downloaded podcast.
It still is our top.
I mean, it's mainly because I'm a legend, but
look at you. You're a good-looking guy.
Yeah, I mean,
thanks for
how
radio.
How could it not be number one, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm humble too, guys. I don't know if you figured that out. So we're getting ready to do 2.0.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to Vegas in a couple of weeks after the Colony Texas Elk Tour coming up next weekend. And next week or after that, I'm going to Vegas for a couple of days. I think we're going to do 2 shows. So we don't know quite where we're going to go. I just know we're going to go deep.
Yeah, there's a lot of different techniques, new things to look at, new features around there. Just I mean, we all say it all the time. We got to give people what they want. We got to talk about some of the things that kind of make me a little uncomfortable sometimes because I kind of like keeping some of these things under my my wing, kind of locked up to get But I mean, I'm ready to give it people what they want and talk about some e-scouting tricks.
These hunters now. They've gotten smarter, right? They've wised up. They're starting to see that the technology needs to play a big role in what they're doing, and this going out and doing the same thing over and over again is not producing the results. Yep. And let's face it, guys, that's the definition of insanity. And I think a lot of hunters get stuck in that rut. They just have always done it this way.
Yep.
They've always used this tool. They've always gone to this spot. They've always gone to that spot, and maybe they're seeing a little success, but just enough to keep them there, but not what they see you having on film, not what they see Ryan and Brian. They just want to up their game a little.
Yep.
Well, guys, the best way to up your game is just to improve your knowledge. I tell people all the time, there's only 2 ways to get better at Western hunting, in my mind. Brian, I want to hear what you think, but there's experience, which you can only get so much so fast. You only got so many days. Or you can broaden your experience by education.
Yep.
So if you can do those 2 things, you're going to move the needle. But a lot of guys just say, I'm just going to do a few more days next year, a few more days, and you'll get there, but it's a slower game than if you educate yourself a little bit.
The way I like to always describe it is knowledge is power. And we have all the tools available to us nowadays, and I always try to explain to people too, how much time do you sit there and watch Netflix in the evening? I bet people don't actually calculate how much time they sit there and waste time doing things. Yeah, sure, it's entertainment. It's like a quick hit of adrenaline, a little bit, watching something, enjoying. Yeah, obviously you have a family, you have to do all that stuff, but how much time do you actually calculate into how much time do you spend e-scouting? I bet a lot of people don't realize that they don't spend enough time e-scouting because they think, oh yeah, I don't have enough time. But you just watched 4 hours of Netflix every single night since you've drawn that tag.
That's right.
I mean, you literally could sit down on your phone, you have a computer, anything available to you nowadays, and e-scout 24/7, 365. There's no excuse for not trying out new tools, trying out different things, looking at the terrain differently, like just analyzing things a little bit differently, not getting stuck in your ways like you just said. And it's kind of want to showcase that, like it's a passion of mine to talk about e-scouting, just like it is for you, like all the tools you have, and it's like I want people to e-scout just as much as they shoot their bow, just as much as they shoot their weapon, or go to the gym. Everyone likes those things because they're sexy and they're fun to talk about. When it comes down to e-scouting is not something you can brag about and be like, oh yeah, I did 3 hours of e-scouting today. Like, here's my gym flex. Like, you don't do that. But like, we need to make it sexy again.
Well, man, you said so many things there. So, guys, what I see a lot of hunters do, I was just at the Boise Bear Tour we had last weekend, and a couple guys came up to me and they're like, "Man, I got all this gear. I'm working." I'm like, "Okay, I get it. I shoot my bow. I do all this stuff all the time. I do this all the time. I do this all the time." I said, "Well, you're training your strengths.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you love to do. That's what you're good at, and you're not working on your weak. I'm not good at computers." I'm like, "Okay, then you got to get better."
Yeah.
So when I did triathlon. When I first started, I found out real quick I was a bigger triathlete, so I turned out to be a really good cyclist.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I rode my bike because I was good and I liked it. Well, my running sucked and my swimming sucked. So my ultimate race times were terrible because I trained my strengths and ignored my weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
So guys, as hunters, as backcountry hunters, our gear, our shooting abilities, even our backcountry skill sets, our fitness, those are all critical components, right? But they're not all the components. If you only work on those strengths, your weaknesses will never catch up.
Mm-hmm.
And people like to think that these Brian Barneys and Brady Millers and Sam Davises, let me tell you, these guys spend a lot of time on their computers. A lot of guys here at this expo are talking to me about, well, I'm going to do some scouting this summer. I get it. I love boots on the ground scouting, but Brady, I think you're a little bit like me. You're a new spot guy. You love to go new adventures.
New areas,
there ain't nothing better than just going to a new place. Well, you tell me. I tell guys that if you're going to dedicate a weekend to boots on the ground scouting, you're going to drive there. You're going to hike a 10-mile, whatever you're going to hike. It's very limited.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to look at elk that are not going to be in that spot in September. You're going to maybe pick up. Now, there's some nuggets.
There is some.
But
good
if
things.
you took the same hours for that whole weekend and you did it over a week or two of e-scouting, you would be so much further ahead than you would be. Do you agree or disagree?
100% agree. And like, not all of us have time to go put boots on the ground. And like I said, when you put boots on the ground, the problem with boots on the ground scouting is you're putting all your eggs in one basket. You're only going to one trailhead. You're only going to one area. You're only looking at one basin. You don't have time because you may only have a weekend. Like I said, 10 hours to drive, hiking, long distance, trying to get up there. And it's like, I want to know the unit like I know the back of my hand. And the only way to do that is literally scanning around in 3D, analyze the unit in tons of different ways, analyzing all those features of the terrain, knowing where all those little benches are, knowing where all those little north-facing slopes, south-facing slopes, everything that looks like it's going to have an animal in it, already highlighting that stuff. You can find, big animals from boots on the ground, but I think you can find success more and more by just e-scouting, especially a new person who hasn't been to a unit before. You will find success e-scouting. You're not going to find a 400-inch bull or 200-inch mule deer e-scouting, but you'll know where they could possibly be. And then once you get there, then you modify your plan to then try to find an older age class animal. E-scouting, you're just trying to find the features that hold animals. And people overlook it and think it's like the least amount of things they should do. Like, hey, I want to know where I park, and I want to know, where I'm going to get to, but they don't take any other things into account besides for those two things.
Just push it shut. Thank you. Oh, hey, so people are trying to get in the Cybertruck. It's so popular.
You know why they're trying to get in right now? They're trying to learn from you on this e-scouting
They're
thing.
trying to get close to me, Brett.
Yeah.
They're trying to get their skin next to mine, Brady, and hopefully they're hoping some of that osmotic e-scout will migrate cross-membrane, right? Yes. So you're a biology major too, right?
Yeah.
Yep. I remember talking. So I have a biochemistry. So how weird is that? We're hunters, and we're in the hunting industry. And
I know.
I couldn't tell you probably 10 elements on the periodic table anymore. Whatever. It's funny.
But I think our brains are wired very similarly.
That scientific analysis, it served me well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about the importance, the value of e-scouting versus made boots on the ground for time served, right?
Time served, yep.
Now, if you have an unlimited amount of time and time is up, then okay.
And the unit's right at your back door.
Unlimited time is close by. You got vacation to spend. But guys, I would rather see you hunt more days and scout while you're hunting than to spend the time when you're not there in the off season. Mm-hmm. If you only had 10 days, I certainly wouldn't spend 3 or 4 of them e-scouting.
Yeah.
I'd spend the rest on the hunt, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I found that people are using the tools, okay? So they're using GoHunt, they're using Gaia, they're using whatever they're using, and that's what they're using. Guys, you've got to use all the tools.
All the tools.
I mean, I'm telling you, Brady. I mean, Brady has orange blood, so he bleeds GoHunt orange. But I'm guaranteeing you, I'm not going to call names. The man uses a lot of tools.
I use pretty much, you can say, every single tool out there.
There's no other way.
Yeah, you have
because
to. If you want success, you have to use everything.
And people, so many hunters I'm finding right now are becoming so one dimensional. Like, well, I'm using OnX. I've got my OnX tattoo. I'm drinking red Kool-Aid every day when I wake up. I'm like, okay, well, what else are you using? Well, that's it, OnX. And they tell me it's good enough. I'm like, good enough? I said, you know what good enough is? That's the 6% average that's going to kill an elk.
Yeah.
Good enough is going to get you 6%. Well, I don't want to kill an elk every 15 years.
Yep. And it's fun, too, to look at tools outside of our space. Tools you might not realize exist out there that are actually really good for analyzing different parts of the terrain that you never thought was possible because you think you need to have, obviously I work at a hunting company. We have a hunting app. But like there's other things that you can look at too that are like other people are really good at doing certain things. Look at them, take them from information. How can you take that knowledge of e-scouting, what they don't even think it's it's not even e-scouting tool, it's made for something else, and then merge that into your knowledge of all the other tools and how to utilize it all. It's like a cohesive system. Like everything's supposed to be working
Well, we're
together.
not going to let too much out of the bag, but we're going to get into tools. So my goal, I hope you want to do this, but I want to get into breaking down some next level tools that were never designed for hunting.
Yeah.
That have some power. Like everybody's on bears right now. It's spring.
Yep.
Well, it's not spring. Spring's coming. Everybody's got winter fever, cabin fever. They're thinking bears. They want to do bears. And snow analysis is a big deal with bears.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to know where the snow line is on the south slope and if it's melting or not and how fast it's moving up the mountain. That sounds like a mouthful, but and everybody's like, well, how do you know that? Guys, there's 5 tools you can use to pinpoint that almost to the exact. And once you know that line, you have increased your odds of killing a bear almost exponentially.
Yeah.
And I talked to guys this last weekend. I'm like, yeah, we just didn't see any bears in this spot. But last year, man, we killed 3 bears here. But this year we didn't kill any bears. I said, could you see any snow when you're hunting this year? Well, no, we couldn't see any snow. What about the year before? Oh, yeah, we could. Well, there you go. You're too low.
Yep.
They're not at the same place every year because of the snow line. And I see guys making that mistake over and over and over again because they really don't know. They know snow's kind of a thing,
Yep.
but they don't really know how to approach it, how to analyze it, how to break it down. So we're going to talk. I hope we'll talk about that and talk about some tools. And but we don't know the format. All I know is it's going to be good. And I know when we get together, I always love it. And I still give you credit to this day. I don't try to take it as much as I want.
Oh, I don't even know what's coming right now.
Yeah, I know. I try to not take credit for this, but I teach this section where I teach custom markups, colors, root colors, icon colors, all kinds of priority things. And you told me, said, when we were in our last podcast, you said, hey, I use black for marking animals. And I'm like, what? I always use yellow for all infield icons, right? We talked about that.
Yep.
And you're like, why use black? Dude, I started using black, and things just started making sense.
Yeah.
So,
We'll hash that out a little bit more. Like, just go through it because you should use a system and stick to it. But you try to explain it. Like, I learn stuff from you all the time. You learn stuff from me. It's like we don't expect people to use exactly what we do all the time. But like,
build your own system.
Use your own system. But like, if there's a certain color that like stands out to you for certain things, use that and use that to your best ability and make that color standard. And it's like that's what we're all about. Is like trying to look at a map and like, okay, that color means this, and now I'm trying to build that picture because I have all these certain colors on there that mean a certain thing and a special thing. And that's why black to me is a really special thing, which we'll dive into.
Well, if you open up your GoHunt and you see nothing but orange waypoints,
that means nothing.
You're failing.
Yeah.
You need to open up GoHunt, and it needs to speak to you like it's talking to you. Mm-hmm. And when you've got colors and icons and different colored lines for on-trail, off-trail, driving routes, you got your turns in gray, you've got your access points in gray, you've got all your animal sightings or kills in black. Guys, it starts to speak to you. And you've got all your in the field. Anything you found in the field, you put in yellow. Dude, it becomes so obvious. And it'd be like, well, look at all these points over here that when I was e-scouting, I found all these points. And then now I'm seeing all these yellow points that I marked in. They're very close. So my e-scouting worked.
Yep.
So where I thought the animals would be, I was finding them. And year after year of seeing that visual, you become better at the game. Mm-hmm. But if it's a sea of default color, it doesn't speak to you. Now, I'm not saying it's not bad. It's not but how many times have you looked at your computer and you've seen an orange waypoint and you're like, what does that one mean?
If you don't know what a waypoint means, you're doing something very, very wrong with that waypoint. It should always speak to you. I think when you look at a map, well, that's what I want to touch on, obviously, on the world's greatest e-scouting podcast, part 2, where we're going to discuss whatever the title is going to be, something really clickbaity like that. The map should be speaking to you.
Yeah.
It's literally a living, breathing document, and it's never a closed book. It's never like you wrote this book and it's a new chapter. It's always evolving, always changing, and you should be able to look at it. And it's literally going to speak to you. It's going to tell you the information that you need to know based on looking at it, because you did all the work and you learned everything about that unit or about that state or species or whatever it could be.
Man, I just want to keep going. I want to do another.
We're going to do the podcast right now.
I can do an hour right now, but this show is 20 minutes, guys. This is a hard-hitting what's happening in the Western hunting space in 20 minutes. So, before we go, what's happening in GoHunt now that we need to know about for this week in this show? Is there anything we need to know about? I know we got predictive odds coming.
We got predictive odds, and we're coming up with more states. So I think by the time we do the best podcast part 2 for e-scouting, we're going to have some more predictive states.
And let me tell you about the predictive odds, guys. This Colorado mess we're getting ready to get into, and this is a giant mess. And people don't realize the impact that's going to happen when they take half of the tags and turn them into random, and when they make the over-the-counter archery tags become draw.
Yep.
This point game, this hoarding points, it changes the whole landscape.
Yep.
So it's going to change the draw. It's going to change the numbers of points it takes to draw tags.
And then the cool thing is we haven't talked about yet, when these states change their tag quotas, because we're going to have predictive for all these states coming up, we can go in and we can adjust the predictive odds based on what the tag quota is. So we can give people more information to look at. It's just another tool in your toolkit.
Yeah.
It's like you always talk about having different sources of maps and all sorts of different things. It's just another tool in your toolkit that will keep you sharp and keep you effective and keep you on top of your game, instead of just looking at one data point and thinking that's golden. We want to give you everything in front of you.
Well, what I like, guys, at GoHunt right now is whether you need their app, you think you need your app, or whether you think you need these predictive. And guys, you just get your insider membership. And you get it all. You don't even got to worry about it. You can use the maps whenever you want. Now, I use that terrain analysis tool it's like my best friend. For Spring Bear particularly. Guys, it's all just one package. You need it anyway. If you're trying to read regs and trying to get your tags, just like, you're going to make mistakes. Now, I'm not saying don't read them and don't do them, but use GoHunt even as a backup or a verification, double check. And guys, rely on some of the people that do it every day. And for the money, guys, we spend literally so many thousands of dollars on tags and trying to get tags. That $149 or whatever it is like a no-brainer. So I hope you'll think about that. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks when we come to Vegas.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. I just want the time to roll forward really quickly so we can be there right now doing this and give these people what they want to do. It's my most passionate subject ever. And
all right, guys, in a few weeks, it'll take a while to do it and edit and get it. I don't know what the backlog is on releases and stuff, but it's coming, so stay tuned. Okay, so I mentioned in my introductory segment that on some of the Thrive episodes, I was going to do some gear reviews, some short reviews of some of the gear and some of the items and tools, even technology tools that I really like and that I use and that I can highly recommend. So for my very first gear review item, I've chosen these Graxall boot dryers. These things are fantastic. We all pack these. We don't share them. Well, mainly because my hunting partners don't share well with others, but we all find ourselves using these all the time on every hunt, especially Brian Call, because his feet sweat 4 times more than the average person. So basically the way these work is you just drop them with the angle down in the boot, right in the top of the boot, and you plug them in and let the air just circulate through the boot. It's a very low power fan. On the website, they claim that it takes less than 30% of what your phone does. These things weigh less than 6 ounces. They're USB adapters. Now, the new version is a USB-C. So, Austin, if you're listening to this, it looks like I need the USB-C version, right? But seriously, these things are fantastic. So I love the way these work. We use them almost exclusively during Spring Bear. And if we're hunting any late season hunts at all, late season elk, rifle seasons, or late season mule deer, these are always in our kit and they're with us on every hunt. I can tell you right now that these Graxall dryers are almost bulletproof. You can stand on these things, and I have never had a single failure, a single hiccup, or anything with these dryers. So I can't recommend these enough.
Austin, as I think about it, a little taller, a little longer than this would be better. Like, cause sometimes you're committed. If you need your boots in the canopy, because that's where they're going to be warm, right? So you get them up there, but I want to use my dark energy to run my boot dryer, and
and
also
something else. So you don't want it up on your boot.
and also
sitting up
watch
on your boot.
Indiana Jones.
Uh,
You know, I'm old school.
course.
Couple more items before I go. These are the Graxol game bags. These are the bone-in bags. And if you've got stock or you just like carrying around bones, then get yourself some of these bone-in bags. And then these are the boneless bags. Guys, this is an entire elk bag right here. This is for an entire elk boneless. This is incredibly lightweight. So they're just very durable. They're very reliable. And they're incredibly lightweight. So the game bags and the boot dryers, fantastic items from Graxol. You can find out more about these items and all the other great items that they have at Graxol.com.